Hey y'all, it's Laura and welcome to a HipKit Club guest design spot. So I have this beautiful sketch that is one of the challenges in the HipKit Facebook group, and the HipKit design team members asked me if I would do a guest design spot and create two layouts with the December HipKit. I am a subscriber to the HipKit. I get it every single month. And for December, I happened to buy the embellishment kit as well. So I have a little bit of both. And I'm using it as a base for my stash kit this month, but this particular layout will be purely HipKit inclusions. And I have this sketch to use as a prompt, and I had these really sweet photos of myself and had decided to do a little selfie marathon, if you will, trying to get some decent photos to scrapbook of myself, because I like to, at the beginning of the year, kind of do a intro to the album kind of thing. And I thought, what would be better than some silly selfies of myself and just kind of new year, new me kind of thing. So I took some selfies and then I printed them in both black and white and in color on these little film strips with my Canon selfie. Now, if you're curious of how I did this, I do have a full tutorial for the Canon selfie and the Epson Picture Mate, which I will link at the very end of this video. That shows you how to create these strips. Now, I wanted to use my dies. I am on a mission to use my dies more this year. And so one of the reasons I purchased a folding Sizzix Big Shot is because I wanted to make sure I was using my dies. Dies are rather expensive to have and not use. So I've decided to go ahead and do some circles. These are kind of an interesting frame. They're not even a frame. They only cut out the inside of the circle, not the outside. And by cutting them this way, where they're concurrent one on top of another like that, I can get frames out of them and use less paper. So I'm not using whole pieces of paper for every single circle. And you'll see in just a second when it pops out that I have frames, which works really, really well for this layout. And what I'm going to do with these frames is I liked both sides of this paper. So it had this gorgeous, rich navy blue. And then on the other side was a really pretty sort of polka dot. And so I thought it would be fun to go ahead and use some of the blue side and some of the polka dot side and then back them like a cut file and create a background of circles, just like the sketch, or at least similar to the sketch. Now again, this only cuts out the center, so if I want the largest frame, I had to trim out the outside edge, and I think the intention for these dies is to use them on cards. So you would cut out a circle in the middle of a card front and then back it with all kinds of pretty things and create either shaker pockets or just an in-depth sort of picture. Sometimes you can put things on the inside of the card and have the circle that sees into the card. I hope that makes sense. And it kind of peeks out the front. And I think that's what it's intended for. I don't think I bought them knowing that. I think I was expecting to get frames, but I did not. And so this is my way of getting around that. This is my little cheat for getting around that with my dies. So now here you see I've got some of the polka dot ones and some of the navy ones, and I'm going to go ahead and back them with a series of these papers. Very simple process. I just go ahead and add some glue with my tonic glue pen around the back of the frame and then go ahead and stick it down to the paper that I want, and I will cut it out. So just like I do die cuts or cut files, I have a tendency to just glue it down first and trim it out. I find this just way faster and easier than trying to trace it and trying to get everything perfect. That never works for me. I always end up cutting it too small and then having to recut it and waste paper. And so this way I assure that I get exactly what I want every single time. Now, some interesting things happened with this layout. For one thing, I decided to use some of the giant alphas that came in this hip kit. And that title that I made, a very nice short title, moved all over the page. You guys will have a giggle when you see how many times I move this title. It jumps all over the place. It is so funny to watch. So these are the giant alphas. They're a beautiful blue, the same blue as that paper. And everything in December's Hip Kit was exclusive. So there was no American Crafts or Pink First Studio or any other collections. It was completely Hip Kit. And I love their designs so much. I really think that their kits that are exclusive are even better than the ones that have American Crafts stuff in it. And I love American Crafts and Pink First Studio and all of that extra stuff too. So it's a win-win for me either way. I love their designs. I love how simple a lot of their papers, their exclusive papers are. And that just makes them so easy to use because they're not heavily themed. Now the December kit does have a bit of a winter theme to it, especially in the embellishments. The papers I don't think are quite as bad. They're pretty versatile. You could use them for anything, but the embellishments are pretty heavily winter themed. And normally we don't get a lot of snow here in Mississippi. However, because I said that out loud in a live in front of people, we got snow today. Which is very unusual for early January. We had 70-degree temperatures yesterday and snow today. So if you're friends with me on Facebook, you will have seen a picture I posted of a rose petal, a rose head, I guess, just the rose, from our rose bush, because our rose bush has been blooming all through December, covered in snow, which I thought was appropriate to capture how I felt in the moment. What's happening here? So I may actually have some snow pictures to scrapbook with this kit, which I did not expect to have. So I'm very excited about that. So this is, again, following the sketch as closely as I can. You know me, I don't stick to any one design for very long. I tend to switch it up and I move things around and just make it work. And I really kind of made myself laugh because I was trying to put that title everywhere but where the sketch told me to. And in the end, it ended up right exactly where the sketch told me to put it. And I thought that was so funny. So digging into the floral ephemera, this was in the embellishment kit for December. And I really love when they have embellishment kits that are filled with floral ephemera because it just holds my heart. I love floral ephemera and I find it so much easier to use. It's so generic, no particular theme, and I really, really appreciate that because the majority of the photos that I personally scrap are just everyday photos. They're not usually holidays or any special event. They're really just everyday photos. And so I tend to prefer collections and designs that are pretty generic. This one worked out quite well. I didn't actually get a ton of flowers on here. I thought I was going to get a bunch, and then I really didn't. I have one in each of these smaller circles at the top and bottom, and those are just reflecting each other. So if you look at the design I put together with these circles, they more or less reflect top to bottom, but backwards. So you've got your small circle at the top left, small circle at the bottom right, large white circle in the center, large white circle in the center at the top. Big blue circle to the left, big blue circle to the top right. So it's just a reflection essentially of the top, but switched. And what that does is it helps to create more balance on the page, which your eye generally appreciates. It likes balance. It likes to be able to find the center, and it likes to have evenly distributed things from side to side or top to bottom. And in this case, it's more top to bottom. And it's not perfect because by making it just a little bit wonky, so okay, my circle on the far left here, the blue circle, and the circle on the far right are different sizes. And so are the top and bottom. But I've evened them out by putting the largest white at the top with the smaller blue. And at the bottom, I have the smaller white with the larger blue, and that kind of evens things out across the page. Here's that title, Move It Again, on the move around the page. I do normally put my titles pretty close to my photos. That's very typical for me, but because my title was the exact same color as the blue circles, it made it very frustrating for me to have it right there. I just felt like it looked awkward. It was upsetting the balance of the circles by adding more blue just there. And so that's why it ends up moving. And actually this 2022 is a large part of how I decide where to put it, because I end up adding this to the title as well. And adding in that little pop of pink really helped me to see it as a separate entity from those blue circles. because it had that little shock of pink, and that really, really helped. Now I wanted to add more to the cluster of florals at the top right here next to my photos. And so I decided to do an additional couple of kind of subtitles above the photos so that I could build it up and add more of a presence at the top of the page. And again, that's working with balance because I'm going to be putting this title somewhere at the bottom. At this point, I've decided the title is 100% going at the bottom. I actually thought it was going to stay right where it is right now. And so I was trying to balance that out by adding some words up at the top as well. I didn't want to leave that blank. Now I do tend to add a lot of words to my layouts. I'm a wordy person. I know that shocks all of you who have watched my 3-hour lives. I can talk for hours. Love, love, love to talk, have all the things to say. So a lot of my layouts do have a lot of words on them because I'm not afraid of words. I write books and poems and just talk way more than the normal person should. So lots of words included in my layouts really feels like something that is just a personal style choice for me. Now I did want to bring in some of the chipboard pieces from the embellishment kit as well as the main kit, and so I'm just picking through the chipboard options. I believe the main kit came with some puffy stickers and a few other things. There was the alphas, there was the puffy stickers, and there was something else. But I think the chipboards were in the embellishment kit, pretty sure. And I really liked the chipboards, especially the titles chipboard, the one that had all of the titles on it, that had the Celebrate on it, that is currently on the layout. Really, really liked that one. And that, along with the floral ephemera, convinced me to pick up the embellishment kit as well for last month. Now, I am going to be doing a spending freeze of sorts this year. It's not a full spending freeze, and I'm still working out the details on it. But if you guys would like to hear more about it, have updates at how it's going, I'm trying to spend a lot less in 2022 just because my stash has grown to an overwhelming point. And normally I start purging at this point and just start pulling some old stuff that has been sitting in my stash for years, but I'd really like to use some up. And so I'm thinking that a little bit of a freeze, maybe not a full freeze, like a partial freeze, a budget, if you will, for 2022 will help me to use up my stash more and spend less. Because if I don't need to buy more things for my stash, I really shouldn't. That's kind of wasteful. And I do get a lot of things in from design teams because I am on a few design teams. I'm on the Cocoa Vanilla design team, the Freckled Fawn design team, and Scrap and Happy Studios design team. And so I get a lot of stuff in from them because they don't pay me for my work. They send me free product. And so I end up getting a lot of product in that way as well. And due to that, my stash has gotten to a point where it's kind of full to bursting. And I love everything that's in my stash. So knowing that, I'm going to go ahead and try to use it instead of lose it this time. Now, if you have any questions about how to purge your stash, I have done a video on that, and I will link it at the end as well so that you can get some quick tips if you need to refresh your stash. I do that about every other year. I refresh my stash, purge out old product that I know I'm not going to use, especially product that's come from design teams that I didn't pick out to buy myself. I do not feel bad about purging that and sharing it with someone else who can use it. But that's it for this one with some scattering and splattering. This one is complete. Until next time, bye y'all.